We started with 68 teams in March Madness and are now down to the final 4 teams. I'm here to break them all down next on Austin's Academy of Sports. The Florida Gators, the Duke Blue Devils, the Houston Cougars, and the Auburn Tigers have all scanned their tickets to San Antonio this weekend for the Final Four, and it should be a bloodbath. We have Florida going up against Auburn, two SEC foes going at it for the right to punch their ticket to the national championship on Monday. And then on the other side of the bracket, we have the Duke Blue Devils from the ACC and the Houston Cougars, Kelvin Sampson's Houston Cougars, first year in the Big 12, and they've already scanned their ticket to the Final Four in San Antonio. Now, to get there, I'm going to go through how each team got there through the bracket, and we'll start with the Florida Gators. They snuck out a close game, probably, I would say, the best game to watch in the Elite Eight this past weekend over the Texas Tech Red Raiders. They snuck out a win, come from behind fashion, 84-79. Story of that game is they were down by 10 plus points in the final 3 minutes of the game. Texas Tech could feel it in San Francisco, in the Chase Center, and they just let it go right by them. Florida, they had a guy named Walter Clayton Jr., who many people know he's one of the best clutch scorers in March Madness history. I mean, you take a look at last year's March Madness, that awesome game. I believe it was against St. John's maybe last year, but nonetheless, he had a clutch shot that in the last 10 seconds of the game propelled them to the Sweet 16 and then eventually to the ended their run there at the Sweet 16 last year. But Walter Clayton just all over the court. He has that clutch gene in him. If he chucks up a shot, you know it's going in. Head coach Todd Golden said that in his press conference. He has all the confidence in the world. Walter Clayton does, and of course Todd Golden does as well for his teammate and for his player. But his late threes propelled them to the win, 84-79. Like I said, the Red Raiders blew a 10-point lead, which is uncharacteristic of the Red Raiders. They are kind of a scraunchy team that doesn't want to give up, and they had that lead, but in the end, kind of blew it. And now Florida is punching their ticket to San Antonio. This Saturday night, their game is against Auburn. The first game, 6:09, which I will get into a little bit later. Clayton had 30 points, and he's not coming off the bench either. He's a consistent starter for Todd Golden. 8 of those 30 points came in the last 2 minutes of the game. 6 of them came from behind the arc, and then 2 of them from free throws. Now, for the Red Raiders, some positive to take away from this game. I know there's not much, but ending your season with a nail-biting loss like that when you had the lead in your back pocket. But Darion Williams, he did end the game with 23 points. He was their most consistent scorer. I mean, he was 9 for 18 from the field, only 3 free throw attempts. 2 of those were makes. The next closest for Tech was JT Toppin, the Big 12 Player of the Year, with 20 points. Nonetheless, the Florida Gators are moving on to San Antonio. Should be flying out, I would say, Wednesday or Thursday night. Probably Wednesday night, get some practice, get some pregame activities down there. Final Four, San Antonio should be a fun event for the Florida Gators and these young college students living out their dream of hoisting that trophy if they can get there. Now moving on to the nightcap of Saturday night, Duke versus Alabama. Many predicted this game to be an offensive shootout. Wasn't the case for Alabama. Duke was 85-65 lead. They walloped the Crimson Tide. The 3 freshmen from the Blue Devils, Con Knipple, Cameron Malawach, and Cooper Flagg, of course, all kind of lottery picks, I would say. At least Cooper Flagg is. They scored 51 of the 85 points for the Blue Devils. I mean, that's astonishing. Like, probably 3 one-and-done players, but that's just how Duke is. They have an elite coaching staff and Jon Scheyer, who kind of took over Coach K's realm of things, recruiting, and Jon Scheyer has got the Blue Devils, kind of that blue blood, back to the Final Four with a chance to win a national championship this year again. And I think they could do it. I'll talk about who my winner is a little bit later, so I don't want to dive into that yet. But Duke, they kind of limited Mark Sears for Bama. Mark Sears coming over from the MAC 2 years ago, I believe, from Ohio. And he found his role in Tuscaloosa in Alabama. And they slowed him down. Against BYU, he had over 25 points, if I can remember correctly. But he only had 6 points in this game. And most of them came, I guess you could say, in the latter half of the game with 5 minutes to go or less, with free throws and a few shot here and there. But not a very productive game for Mark Sears. On the other hand, Labaran Filion, he scored 16 points for the Tide. And then for the Blue Devils, Con Knippel had 21 points, leading scorer for them. But that's the blueprint for success. When you limit the other team's offensive scorers or juggernaut in Mark Sears, Labaran Filion, and Grant Nelson on the Tide, that's a recipe for success. And that's what Jon Scheyer did coming into the game. He told his freshmen and his upperclassmen to kind of double team the post and cancel those bailouts for the Tide, and that's what happened. Duke won 85-65, 20-point lead. It was never really close from the jump. Duke got out to that early halftime lead. I believe it was 10 points, or 9 points it was, and then the route was on from there. So Duke and Florida moved on in the Sweet 16, or in the Elite 8 to the Final Four on Saturday night. Now let's move to Sunday. Similar performance in Indy, as Houston dominated Tennessee. The next game, 69-50. Tennessee could not get going. They only scored 15 points in the first half. Yes, you heard me right. 15 points. Rick Barnes was not happy with his team's first half appearance. He said they showed a little lack of fight against these Houston Cougars. And then on the opposite side, Kelvin Sampson's Cougars, they came ready to go. They were playing in Lucas Oil Stadium. And it was a big venue for a smaller event. I guess you could say the court is not the same size as the football field, obviously, so they had to maneuver that onto the football field. Most of the seats weren't even taken up. Nonetheless, 69-50 win for the Houston Cougars, and they are moving on to the Final Four, the Midwest Region champions. Now, Cougars had balanced scoring, I will give you that. Cryer had 17 points, Sharp had 16 points, and he kind of took over late in that game as well. And then Juwan Roberts only had 9 points, but that's all they need. It's kind of like a Michigan State team, balanced scoring. As long as you can supply that defense, the offense will come. And that's how they escaped with this win in dominating fashion, 69-50. Like I said, Tennessee only 15 first half points, and they had 35 in the second half. So they dug themselves in a little bit of a hole. They shot a lot of threes, and they just weren't falling. I don't know if it was because it was in a football stadium. A unique environment like that could knock off some shots, but 69-50 win for the Houston Cougars. In the nightcap, my favorite game of the night to watch, Auburn versus MSU. Elite 8 game. Auburn got the win, 70-64 over the Spartans. Last year, I remember a quote from Tom Izzo when they lost in this round of 32, I believe it was. He said, and I quote, "I'm going to get to a bigger run in this tournament, or I'm going to die trying." And he I don't know if this is his standard. It's probably not. He wants to hang a banner. He hasn't won. He's been the last Big Ten team to win a national championship, and that's been since 2000. So if you're a Big Ten fan, skip through this part. But Michigan State, they ended up losing 70-64. Just too much offensive and defensive firepower for the Auburn Tigers. Spartans couldn't hang in, and Michigan State suffers that 6-point defeat. Kohler, he kind of helped out the Spartans a little bit, starting that game with 17 points. But like I said, in the end, it was too much to handle with Janai Broome and the preseason SEC Player of the Year, could be the Player of the Year in all of college basketball, Johni Broome, with 25 points. So he kind of went toe-for-toe with them. And then he kind of, at the end of the game, he had his press conference, and he said he played all right. But I think he played better than all right. He's just kind of hurting himself a little bit there. Speaking of hurting himself, he did leave with a shoulder injury, so his status for the Final Four is up in the air a little bit. Johni Broome's, that is. MSU kind of dug themselves in a hole. 24-33 at the halftime. A little bit better than Tennessee, but I still think that kind of, their slow starts hurt them in this tournament. I mean, they only lost by 6 points. They had some production from Kohler. Jace Richardson, of course, could be a lottery pick, could come back. His future is up in the air. Nonetheless, Auburn moves on, and they're going to be playing Florida in the tournament. So moving on to that Final Four, I want to preview some of these matchups here. We got Florida versus Auburn in the SEC. Early game, 6:09 p.m. I guess you could say early, because the next game isn't until 8:49 in San Antonio. But Saturday night, it's going to be a good game. I would say this is probably the biggest SEC matchup in years. I mean, a lot of offense, and more offense. Florida, they're averaging probably like 70 points per game in this tournament, along with Auburn, a little bit less than that. Right now, Auburn has a 58% chance of winning. Florida has a 42%. But I think it's going to come down to the guards. Walter Clayton, Elijah Martin, Will Richard for the Gators. And then for the Tigers, you have Todd Pettiford, Chad Baker-Mazara, Miles Kelly. Those three-headed snakes are going to go up against each other. Pettiford, that freshman coming off the bench, he torched Michigan. He torched MSU. Will he do the same against Florida? Something to take a note here. Florida has beat Auburn early on in February, 90-81 in the jungle in Auburn Stadium. So, close game. They've seen each other once already. I'm still going to roll with Florida here over Auburn. They are my national champion, so I kind of just gave it away. But Florida, I have them beating Auburn, and I have them beating whoever wins the Duke and Houston matchup as well. Speaking of Duke-Houston, this game is going to be about Duke's offense versus Houston's defense. Can Houston's defense slow down Duke's Cooper Flagg, Con Knipple, Cameron Malawach like they did against Tennessee? That's going to be the story of the game. If they can do that, they have a chance of winning this game because of their offensive output. Emmanuel Sharp for the Cougars, Miles Uzan, and Jawan Roberts. They can score one-on-one matchups with ease, and I know Kelvin Sampson's going to have his Cougars ready to go. Right now, Duke is favored by 4% to win this game, so I still think Duke wins that game, and I think Florida edges out Duke Monday night, Natty, and Florida is this year's national champions, back on the mountaintop for the Florida Gators. Now, this bracket is a lot of chalk. Now, what I mean by chalk is all 4 1 seeds have made the Final Four. Not really many upsets, which is a total different topic point, but that has something to do with NIL. NIL is money that is given to these athletes through endorsements and stuff like that. They come to higher paying colleges, bigger colleges, because they want higher money. And it's limiting all these mid-majors' chances at, winning the tournament and getting in the tournament even, because they have the lesser role in players. They don't have as many resources. And now these big games like Florida, Auburn, Duke, Houston are all 1 seeds and all are fighting for the same thing, that national championship. So the last time we had all 4 1 seeds was 2008. And that was UNC, Memphis, UCLA, and Houston, I believe. So another 4 1 seeds again. Florida over Duke, my champion. Let me know in the comments who your champion is this year. And as always, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Austin's Academy of Sports. Have a great week.